Well, welcome. Thank you, ladies, for jumping on. Amazing. Great to have you. Thank you for pulling everything together. It's obviously a great experience for me personally, with working on this for more than a year to be able to get to the point where we could actually have a game. And so I want to thank you first and foremost for taking the leap of faith or blindly walking into what we did. Of course, it was just a concept, it was just an idea, and then we made it a reality. The first time ever that anyone's ever played on smaller rims and lower rims in the history of basketball. There's never been competitive rims like we had played on ever produced or ever used. So um, it's a big step, and it's just the beginning. And over the last, I guess, 3 weeks, I've been working on some things pretty quietly in the background, not released any of the footage. And frankly, I've been learning more about how to compile the footage with some more advanced editing software and all that to be able to prepare to scale and ramp up. And I can hand things off to other people to manage that. But I've really been reviewing all the footage and really dissecting it in different ways. Um, and it's pretty fascinating because, like I said, it's a big test. We just don't know how everything's going to go until we actually begin play. And I'm definitely picking up on some things and some trends. And of course, with our first interviews that we had after the first game, that was very insightful and encouraging. And then I think there was a lot that happened throughout those first three games as it relates to stylistically, like how we how it seems everyone approached the game strategy wise. And it was interesting to see the progression from just warming up to playing in the first game to the second game to the third game and then breaking into 5-on-5. And so I'm looking at the games and the footage as, what we had, what we did that day, but I'm also looking at it as how that scales to different players, to different rim heights, to we could even reduce the rim size. We could make the rim size bigger. We could do everything's on the table. You see what I'm saying? And I'm imagining, envisioning what this game will look like with these tweaks. So there's no right or wrong answers to anything as it relates to your input. And I don't want any specific answers necessarily or any specific insight as it relates to how you feel about anything. And really the opportunity today is really just to get a feel for what you thought about the gameplay and how things evolved, and just anything that you want to talk about is a tremendous advantage. We did have a call. We had a call yesterday with Atiya and Yuck. And so that was very interesting. We picked up on some things and very encouraging as well. And everybody is, of course, has a different background, different level of playing experience, different exposure to the game. And so everybody's going to experience everything, in a different way. But everything's green lights from what we're seeing. And talking to a lot of other people, and over the last couple 3 weeks, we're very excited about where things are going. And next steps are going to be, we got to release footage. We got to really, promote what's been going on and look to capitalize on that. And that's why I've been in Los Angeles, San Diego, heading into Denver and Atlanta this week as well. And we're looking to set up other 3-on-3 tournaments, of course, that could break into 5s like we did in Las Vegas, and these other markets to continue to expand and build out player bases. And we'll definitely be back into Las Vegas, no doubt. And I expect to be able to come back in and we'll be able to hit it even better and with even more resources, and be able to bring in additional players and increase the competition even more. And we're just we're excited about where we're going. And we got some sponsorship opportunities, some investment opportunities that we've been working on. And of course, that's going to be necessary to continue to scale, because we're not looking to set up things in terms of like local leagues. We're looking to scale this to be, national, and looking to scale pretty quickly. And based on what we see happening, I will have messed something up if we can't make that happen. I'll put it that way. So credit to you all for first ones into the door, and great showing, absolutely great showing, everybody. And I sure appreciate it. I thought for sure we lost Rachel to a career-ending injury, and she bounced right back and kept rolling. So, I mean, real testament to your all's level of, effort and enthusiasm and commitment. So I mean that it really means a lot to me personally, and to Katie. Katie's been instrumental in really helping to push this thing along and bring in a level of perspective. Katie doesn't have a background in basketball at all, so everything that she's learned in the last few months has been there's been a lot to learn, and she's been a sponge, and she's been absolutely instrumental. And that we definitely couldn't have got to this point without her. And ecstatic to have her with me and with us. So it's going to take all of us to keep rolling. So appreciate you all. But we'll get right into it. It's pretty much free flowing. I've got clips I want to show you, and maybe to give you some talking points. I envision, and we don't have to cover everything in a day. I mean, I want to be pretty short, about an hour or so would be great. But I have no real timetable, So whatever you all want to cover, we can certainly be free to do. But we can also set up some additional calls, of course, beyond today if you want to dive into anything. Or, of course, if you see any opportunities just in general, unrelated to podcasts or whatever else, of course, I want to work with you on that. You all know better than I do. I'm not a woman, and I don't have experience playing the women's game. You see what I'm saying? You all do. So I'm just here to set the table, and it's what we're all going to make of it. So just as a reminder, today we're recording everything, of course, with the idea or the intent that anything that's going on, we're going to look to put everybody in a great light, of course. But obviously, we're looking to promote things via social media and online and everything else. So we'll be mindful, if we need to clip things out or whatever else. If you all want to do any of that, just let me know. But in a general sense, anything that we're covering could essentially go to marketing and promotion, which would be very helpful for us. So that's pretty much
the lawyer in me loves your disclaimer right there. I said the lawyer in me loves your disclaimer.
There you go. I said we're gonna need a lot of help, so you already know. Okay, so yeah, we'll just kick it off. I guess on the front end, I'll just toss it over to Katie, and whatever Katie wants to throw out there, we'll play off of that.
Yeah, let's start with what were your all's expectations prior to playing? Like, what did you really know what ALTbasketball was, like as a concept? Really want to know like your pre-game experience, and then we'll jump into after that first game.
I personally had none until I heard about it from our group chat. I didn't know or hear of anything about alternate basketball or ALTbasketball. So it was kind of very new for me when we first saw how low the rims were going to be, how small they were going to be, and just trying to grasp the concept of how the game would play before we actually got to shoot was really interesting for me.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as Rachel. I had no real expectations. It just seemed like a fun opportunity to come play some basketball. It's not super easy to find spaces for women to play basketball. So it was nice to have that opportunity. And then when I showed up, I think is when I realized really what was going on with the smaller rims and the shorter rims, and how ALTbasketball is trying to promote this kind of thing and make it bigger. And I really support the mission. I like the idea a lot.
What about you, Z?
Yeah, same as Amaka. Like, I knew, like, talking to Nick, I seen him at a couple of our games, and so I knew like what he said, and I just had to like see it to believe it type thing. And so I didn't know how to prepare for it. I didn't know how it was going to be shooting or anything like that. So I kind of went in like, just this is the same old as it is when I would prepare for any other type of game, but it was very much different by the time I got there.
Tia, what were your initial thoughts prior to playing?
So I love the idea. I love the concept. I was like, oh yeah, lower rims. Like I'm gonna. It's gonna be a different ball game. I didn't expect how. Well, I don't know if it was necessarily small, but the smaller diameter rim. I didn't expect it to affect my game as much as it did. But I was excited about it. Like, I'm like, hey, it sounds good to me. Like I finally get to be in there with the big dogs, even though I'm in there with the big dogs anyway. But yeah, I was excited about it.
So let's dig a little deeper there. You said that it affected your game. Like what specifically did you notice the most?
So I've never seen a shot I don't like. My range is out. I mean, if it's on the court, it's my range. At least that's how I normally approach. Everyone on this call has been my teammate before, and they will probably completely vouch for that. I've never seen a shot I don't like. In this game, however, I saw shots I didn't like. If you left me wide open on the 3-pointer, I second guessed it, I third guessed, and I probably didn't shoot it. Like I may have shot 2 or 3 outside shots the entire tournament, and that was on purpose because I realized that it was a lot harder, and my options of driving into the lane due to my size, not height, but my physical strength, that was the better probability shot versus me shooting it from the outside.
So was that an immediate realization for you where you're like, I can't shoot threes. I need to drive in and work my mid and game at the rim versus being out on the 3?
Oh, 100%. Like I still, like, I would think about it a little bit, but I'm as much as I smile, I'm still a very competitive person. I do want to win. So yeah, you have to do your probability very quickly in your head. Like, if I shoot this 3, there's a 17% probability it's going to go in. But if I go into the lane, I'm either going to miss it and Amaka is going to get my rebound, or I'm going to be able to dominate in there.
Nice. So I noticed you really encouraged Amaka to be dunking and playing above the rim. Talk more about how you drive your team to success and that communication on the court, especially with a new game like this. That's a pretty important aspect.
Yeah, no, I think that the unknown of alt basketball, it's my personality in general, but the unknown of alt basketball called for it even more. Like, you have to just reassure your teammates. Like, your teammates for a reason. I do not believe in yelling at teammates. I don't believe in getting mad at teammates. I believe in encouraging them and being positive. That's how I approach life, period. So yeah, when Amaka, I mean, I know you'll probably get to it, but you could tell a complete difference between the first game and the second game and the third game, because she was a little timid in the first game, and she was like putting up these little baby layups and stuff, and I mean, you probably have audio of me like laughing at her, like, Amaka, what are you doing? Like, and it wasn't in a negative way. It was just in a, girl, if you don't use your height. and I mean, I think that it worked in a positive because after that we dominated, and if we would have had that first game, I mean, I think we needed that first game for her to realize it, and I'm okay with that. But she definitely quickly realized that she could dominate, and she did, and I was extremely proud of that.
So when you look at the footage, we'll get into the footage. Realistically, what would be obvious to an outside observer is Atiya is extremely outgoing, energetic. You're going to lead the troops and you're going to force the action offensively, specifically. So those are some things that were pretty obvious. And with a lower rim, you're obviously going to key in on players that are playing around the rim. So of course, Amaka at the first game had advantages there that were clear as day. And to your point, there was a little bit of timidity or just not an awareness of how to play around the rim, which makes sense. And there was a progression. But one of the things that was key to me was I'd be concerned that a lower rim specifically would play too much to the strengths of a taller player on the floor, and not necessarily having to do with anything that has to do with skill, but just height. And by the first game, that's what it seemed like would be an advantage. But realistically, by the second game, as I got off of your all's game over to the next court, and I was talking to Barbecue, refereeing over there, he said it surprised me because he had been watching some of the beginning of that game as ours was still going, and he said that now he's seeing where it seems like guards, maybe it's I can't remember if it was like second or third game, but at some point I got over there and he said your guards that are a little bit tend to be quicker, better fast twitch muscle fight, they're able to get to the rebounds and get to the ball quicker because it's a different game. The game moves faster. I think it was Jay. Was it Jay or was it you, Z, that said that the rebounds come off a lot faster? And I want to get to talking about Rachel and Z and their progression as well. But after in that first interview, what did you talk about specifically, if you bring it back to us?
About like the rebounding and everything like that.
Whatever your thoughts were after that first game.
Oh, yeah. So I think Jay, she had said the same thing, similar to like kind of like, usually I guess when I was in college, I kind of was taught to read the ball like coming off the rim. And so that's kind of how you got into position for like rebounding. And it's different with the smaller diameter rims. So usually those long threes, sometimes you get long rebounds sometimes, but it's trying to like get used to this because the rebounding were like a lot of them, because some of us being so close to the backboard, a lot of us were just like hitting straight off the backboard and they're coming like right here because everybody's so jammed packed right there in the paint because, I guess we're thinking it's going to be a little easier to get rebounds because the backboard and the rim is like right there for us. And so it was just, the ball was coming off so much quicker because I guess we're getting it onto the backboard and to the rim so much harder. And so it's like banging, like bouncing so quickly. So yeah, the rebounding, it was just very different for me compared to normal basketball.
And if I could jump in on that, because Nick, I picked my team. Like I sought out this team on purpose, and I sought them out because of the different qualities everyone has. Like I know I'm kind of the one that dominates the game and everything, but I love playing with Z because she's talking about the rebounding on these smaller goals, but Z is the rebounder on our team, period. Like she's a hustler. She boxes out like no other. She's the one that does those intangible things to help her team, and she doesn't need the flowers. I want to give her flowers right now because she's the one that is in there grinding at the, what are you, 5'2", maybe? Like she's averaging 8 to 10 rebounds like easy because she knows exactly what she said. She knows the game and she knows how to get the position in the game. So I thought that she would be well suited for alt league because being a little bit closer, it sounds like it took a little like give and take and learning from experience. But I think if you look at the progression, she was getting more rebounds in the later games because she did very quickly see that the ball was bouncing a little bit different and she put herself into position. When it comes to Rachel, I wanted Rachel on my team because Rachel is just did my light just go off? Rachel is just a grinder. Like Rachel will do whatever needs to be done. And I was very nervous when she originally like kind of got hurt or whatever you want to say. Because I was like, oh my God, I want her to continue to play because she's the same as Z, except she's a little taller and she will do whatever needs to be done and is an amazing team player. And I wish her game could have been highlighted a little bit more during the tourney, but she'll have her other chances because I think that she is an amazing player and she will do very well with the smaller goals and the lower goals. And then Amaka, Amaka is just like Amaka. I love playing with Amaka so much because she's always has a smile on her face, and she's in there like she's a really good dribbler actually. Like if you get her on the fast break, I always yell to her like dunk it, because she's so fast and so quick, and just her basketball IQ is up there. So this team was picked for a reason, and I'm very proud of this team. And yeah,
That's a lot of what I'm looking for. It's to me, I think what everything we're doing is it's really not for the players, it's for the fans. That's the driving force. I'm a fan of basketball. And I've always wanted to watch women's basketball, but I've always wanted to know what the game would look like at a lower rim. And then when I figure out the smaller rim concept, and then you leverage that to lower the rim, it actually now at scale makes sense. So for me, what I realize is fans buy into joy. I mean, they want players they can get behind, teams they can get behind, likable people. A lot of basketball now, as I've been out, establishing a better network within the basketball space, I'm learning more about, more of the YouTube basketball influencers and people in all these different circuits and different things, and I'm starting to see these different games. You're starting to see the traction where people watching, alternative concepts to traditional college basketball or the NBA game or the WNBA, where players are playing in the street or in other gyms, and Nike sponsored deals and everything else. And it's pretty fascinating. But I think the biggest thing is people are like looking to buy into, people, personalities, likable people, and everybody has a story, and some people are more engaging than others. But I think ultimately what it comes down to is it's literally just, it's joy. You're looking for players that play with some kind of joy and enthusiasm. And that's what people want to get behind. And that was a lot of the theme that I saw, with the tournament that we had, is that there was a lot of joy going on for a range of reasons. We're learning something new, and, we're just like any tournament, everybody's bonding, but it really stood out. And to your point, yeah, really enjoyable people on this team, and it was great to see it. So I want to get into some of the footage too, but let me walk it back. Rachel, give me a little bit more context in terms of your experience. And you were a little bit hobbled. So how did that limit you in this game compared to if you were at full strength, how you would have looked to attack this game?
If I were definitely at full strength, I would have definitely tried to dunk it every chance I got. That was huge to me. I mean, growing up with basketball, period, that's always been a thing during watching before watching all the dunk contests and things like that. That's my eyes lit up like a kid in a candy shop when I saw that. And I was really excited. So don't get me wrong, I'm coming back to dunk that ball. But after that, I definitely had to adjust my shot a lot more. And with that adjustment, it kind of was a humbling experience for sure, because you realize how much your shot isn't on point, or isn't as direct as you want it to be, no matter where you shoot. And as T said, second guessing, also getting in your head, which, quadruple that on top of the little hobble that I had that day. Definitely it got to me, but it didn't stop me from shooting. I wanted to get that ball in the hoop. And, I know a few of us were talking about before, what is it with this rim? How can we get our shot down? And we kind of joked a little bit beforehand about it being the Kevin Durant shot. You gotta do a fadeaway for your shot to go in, just for it to work. But, just those little tips and little things that we did. But movement around that court, watching it from the outside, not being able to go in, it was different watching everybody crash the boards, knowing that they could get the rebound. And then, as Dee said, watching it, go completely left, completely right. No one knew where it was going to hit, because on that rim, since it's so small, you can't tell if it's going to hit left or right unless it's a clear on the side of that backboard. But watching that and everybody go in and dive into the paint to crash the boards and see anything like that, that's more, because usually you're used to some people like, I'm not tall enough, I'm not going in there. But to watch everyone go in there and, crash the boards and everyone get physical, again, that's like a kid in a candy shop. I'm getting chills, because that's basketball. I love that. And just being able to see all of them be able to play like that, it's like art. It's music. I love it.
So my thought going into this was this would be a more aggressive game and it would get more congested. And I think some of the congestion, again, like thinking of next steps, I think some of the congestion, of course, comes in where we're going to miss more shots in that first tournament than we would the second, third, fourth time we play, because we'll get more used to, the rim, right? But still, I think my concern after that game, and again, scaling up, because you look at other athletes coming in, everybody that we had was mostly like 5'7" and less, right? Except for Amaka, Leah. I think probably most everybody else was relatively 5'7" or below, right? So relatively shorter in stature. But what I think about what happens if you bring in 6'2", 6'5" players, which are not as common, but they do occur, right? And the idea is, how would that affect the game? And I'd be interested to know, looking down the line, for you all to consider that and say, how would that have affected our game the other day? One of the things that I pick up on is the game is already very aggressive, as we're seeing. And does that game become too aggressive? Does it almost become reckless to play? You see, I think you all are already saying it. Everybody knows to crash. There's more action. But at what point do we say, ooh, that's probably too much? Or also, one of the things that I picked up on is when you watch the game and the footage, I started to pick up on, and logically, when you're shooting at 10 foot, that ball has a lot of arch, right? Or you're going more straight up. So like if you got to drive, you're going to float that thing over top of somebody. They're going to have a harder time blocking it. But when that rim is positioned closer, you're going to be going more forward. So there's going to be more opportunities for blocks. You see what I'm saying? And for, dissuading somebody from getting a shot up. So I think just categorically, this game is a much more aggressive game, and you can't hide in it if you're going to play. Certainly you can stay out of the 3-point line and hit shots, but you're challenged there as well. And one of the things I was thinking about is you look, and when you start to see the footage, and we put more footage up that can be reviewed after today, of course, there's a good amount, but it's almost like I'm looking at the three shots that were taken, which of course were on 1s and 2s that game. But it's almost like I wonder if in this game, player power and strength wise in the women's game, if it makes sense ultimately to shoot a an NBA 3-point shot instead of like the high school or WNBA or collegiate line, to be able to space the floor out even more to reduce some of that congestion around the rim if it gets to be too aggressive and players' athleticism continues to improve and height increases and all the above. You see what I'm saying? So I'm looking at what we did, but I'm also looking at scale objectively. How could we future-proof this game essentially and keep it competitively balanced? Because
so I was going to say, I'm thinking about it as, a 5'6", 40-year-old woman. I was dunking. I got a dunk in the game. After I left there, I was like, I think we talked about this, like, or maybe I heard in one of your YouTube videos, but once you are actually able to play around the rim and get up there, it makes you want to train that more. And right now in women's sports, you don't necessarily train that because most people aren't playing above the rim. I think you made the argument that 99% of male NBA players can dunk. What 1%, 2% of female WNBA players can dunk, and even when they dunk, it's a very it's not an exciting dunk. It's exciting because they dunk, but it's not an exciting dunk. Lowering the rims now makes me want to go do calf raises. It makes me want to go and you remember those shoes back in the day that had, what were they called?
Jump soles. There's a couple of different ones. Jump soles, yeah.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna go on eBay and try to find me some jump soles because I want to train jumping. I haven't jumped off of 1 foot in forever because I do CrossFit and I do box jumps, and that's 2 feet jumping. I don't jump off of 1 foot anymore. So all of these things were going through my mind. Like if if I'm the next tournament you have, I'm going to start training my 1 foot jumping so I can get back to jumping like that. And I've never thought about doing that because we're playing on the 10-foot rim. Like who's playing above the rim? But I say that to say, once it starts getting more popular and you start getting taller girls, I would actually argue that 8 feet is too small, too short. I would say 8.5 feet. Because you will get the more athletic girls that, and once you start training it more, a lot more girls are going to be dunking. But I think 8.5 feet may be like a perfect height to like the 5'6", 40-year-old. I might get a breakaway dunk, but the Amakas and the taller girls and stuff, then they'll be able to dunk more. And I think it would take away from the things that you're talking about. Like it's still a little bit higher. So, Z, you're not going to be able to dunk, probably. I mean, unless you go get the jump soles with me, too. Like, I say we should just all get the jump soles. But I would say that I think 8.5 feet around there would be like the end result once more girls start playing and you start getting the taller girls. That would be my opinion.
Who else has input? Anybody else? I got another point, but I don't want to slow anybody down if they want to jump in.
Well, can we hear about Amaka's progression of getting to dunking? Because obviously, Atiya, you really encouraged that, but it took a while for Amaka to get there and gain that confidence to make it happen.
Yeah, it was definitely an adjustment because as tall as I am, I don't dunk in regular games with the 10-foot rims, despite my teammates' encouragements too. I did obviously realize that it was way easier to just dunk it than to go for a typical layup eventually. But I kind of agree with what Atiya said in terms of making the rim just slightly higher, because if there were like a team full of me out there, the 8-foot rim is like we're literally just dropping the ball in the basket kind of thing, and there's not really much way to defend that without fouling. So I feel like making it a bit higher would kind of uneven the playing field a little bit and add a little bit of that extra challenge, I think. So I agree with what Atiya said, but I also like the idea of using like an NBA 3-point line to kind of space the floor out a bit more.
Rachel, you had a point too. I want to cut you off.
No, you're just fine. I was just agreeing with T with the height, and same with Amaka. I agree. If there was a team, that's exactly what I was going to say. If there was a forest that came in to that game, full of trees of all Amakas, there was no way. There's no way. There's nothing that would have happened, but they would have won, dominated, easy.
Z, did you have a point?
No, I just I would really appreciate the fact of I guess spacing out the court just a little bit, because I think to your point, Nick, was it'd probably take away some of that congestion that's in the paint area for rebounds and things like that, because the line is so far, and so it might just take maybe a half of a second or two to get down to the mid-range, or some people may not even feel like just keep running back and forward to go and crash and get a rebound.
Okay. So let me
Before you get to your point, if I could just say one more thing, because I think because it was so new, that may have been a part of congestion too. Because thinking back on it now, if we played again and I had my same team, I would talk to my teammates about spacing the court more. If you see me on the right side about to drive into, and that I'm going to drive into the middle, bring your man out a little bit more. Because I think we were in the lane a lot too. So I think the strategic coaching aspect of it, once you get used to it, it may not make it as congested, because you're strategically realizing that you need to get your man out so Amaka can go to work and so forth. So I think I do think that it would still be congested, but the coaching of playing 3v3, because I think to Unrivaled, I know Unraveled is a full court and it's not as big. It's not as long as a regular full court, but they play 3-on-3 and it's at a 10-foot rim, but it's not congestion on the inside. Like you can very easily drive. So it just because the rim is lower doesn't necessarily mean it needs to be congested. I think it was congested because everyone realized they couldn't shoot. So they were going on the inside, and that was probably what it is. But as this game continues to evolve, people are going to become better shooters. And because I mean, if you shoot on that rim if I shot on that rim for 3 months, I would probably be more comfortable with shooting a three versus going on the inside. So I think as the game expands, people are going to become better shooters, and people are going to be more strategic in learning how to run plays to minimize the level of congestion on the inside.
Let me ask you this, just to check, just to get a baseline. Some of the main points that I consider are, to me, if I'm a woman playing on 10 foot, to me, I've come off of ACL reconstructions. I had 3 of them, and I used to play well over the rim off of 1 foot. I could get 2 hands on the rim off of 2 foot, but off of 1 foot, I'm cuffing balls. Okay, so I was relatively high. I don't want to exaggerate where I was at, but there's a big difference between where I was at and people took notice and where I'm at today. Okay.
Hey, if you're gonna be your biggest critic, be your biggest fan. Hype yourself up. You were above the rim. Yeah, do it.
But you have these surgeries, some time passes, you don't train for it. Well, how did I get there? I got there as a youth by training on lower rims constantly. 9 foot, 9.5. That's what I had access to. And because I'm working that, like you were talking about earlier, Atiya, I'm learning to work toward a goal and consistently get higher and higher over it to where I'm training at a lower rim, but it got me to the 10 foot and well beyond. And I don't think everybody quite understands that because everybody doesn't really train that way. And I think playing at 10 foot is discouraging. Even to me right now, like I don't have access to goals at a lower rim on day to day. So like I can't train my leaping like I did before. So I'm not as athletic as I would be if I could do that. So I believe that even training at a lower rim will increase your athleticism. And I've talked to several other people. I'm talking about high-level coaches at different levels. I talked to one earlier today in a different state, and he said that for many years, he had his son, and then all his friends would come over, and they play in the backyard. And what do they play on? 9 foot, 9.5. And they had some of the craziest games and tournaments for all the neighborhood kids and everybody around. It was a big deal. Everybody wanted to come over and play. And so there's a stigma around playing on a lower rim that, again, it's always been a stigma that we're not only pushing back on, but we're resolving, because I believe that the game is more competitive at a lower rim height. It's more accessible, and it forces you as an athlete to recruit everything that you have for balance, stability, power, and and you can leverage that, and it's obvious. And those are things that I think are lost playing at 10, because I'm not pushing the same way at 10 foot. And what was interesting to me is now I see things translating in the women's game. And what I see is the women's game is the model that now is going to inspire the men's game. It's actually the men, they want to play alt basketball. They want me to set tournaments up for them, lower rim, smaller rim. But like once we see women playing, that inspires us. There were some plays that happened the other day. Many of us in that gym, we had one play actually where I had the hair on my arm stand up. It was where Amaka got pinned against the glass by Jay. My hair stood up, and then after like 10 seconds later, Ref P Allen said, the hair stood up on my arms just now. And then later, like 30 minutes later, or 10, 20 minutes later, Katie said, the hair on my arm stood up. 3 of us. That happened off a play. And it's not like, we're not talking about, this is not about everybody dunking, doing that. It's just about, I believe this game, it sets it differently to where it unlocks different parts of the game that wouldn't have been accessible otherwise in terms of competition and to be able to showcase the game. And that's what people would buy into. So anyway, that's kind of I'm getting off on a tangent. But anyway, my question is, does it feel unnatural playing at a lower rim, or does it feel, how they say, fugazi? Does it seem fake or, not something that should be viewed competitively as serious? If you have a group of players that are casual, that's one thing. But if you have competitive players, how do you envision that the perception should be around playing at a smaller rim, lower rim in general, just realistically?
I mean, I think that, yeah, it is kind of, I don't, what's the word I'm looking for? It does seem like all fun and games and not serious. That's how it didn't feel like it when I was playing, but when I tell people about it, it's like, oh, that sounds fun and stuff like that. And it's not like it isn't looked at as necessarily real, but I think that's because it's not normal yet. So I do understand what you're talking about with the perception of like lowering the rims. It seems like it's not as serious, and it shouldn't. It's not as, I don't know if I would think it's not as competitive. I think I would look at people thinking it's not as serious. But you know, somebody made up the game of basketball, and when they were shooting in a basket, people probably were like, what are you doing? Like, look at some of the sports in, like curling. Like, who came up with curling? I'm sure when curling first started, someone was like, what are you doing? Why are you sweeping a big rock on the ice? So I think it's not considered normal until it's considered normal.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I feel like the concept sounds a little bit elementary, but the game obviously comes with its own challenges, as we saw as we were all playing. Like, we all had to adjust in some type of way because we weren't used to it. So that's where it felt kind of unnatural in that sense. But I do feel like it could become a thing, and it still made the game competitive. And yes, competitive, but also still fun in games, because we were doing things that we wouldn't have done otherwise with the regular rims, which I think was the whole point. It does make the game more exciting. It gives people more opportunities to play differently. Like Atiya was saying, she would drive to the basket more. She does that anyway, but she was in there when she got her dunk, and so did quite a few other people. So I feel like, yes, it's fun and games, but in a good way, and it's still very much competitive. And I think it could definitely expand more, because it's still not easy.
And really quickly on that, I don't know if y'all heard, but like my son Landon was in the stands like, Tia, get your dunk, like get in there and dunk. Like, he doesn't yell that to me in a regular basketball game. So I mean, he was excited about it. So
I think that's one of the points. It seems, so you're saying there's more, and that would speak to greater fan engagement potentially with the game. Do you think that could be accurate to say, between Landon watching one of the traditional games at 10 foot versus this? I know it's a one-off, it's a novelty right now. It's the first time he's seen it. But I believe that this game unlocks a lot of opportunities like that for greater engagement. Is that realistic?
100%.
Yeah, I definitely agree, because I feel like one of the gaps between why people watch men's basketball versus women's basketball is because men obviously dunk more, which is what people find exciting, and then also the difference in athleticism, but lowering the rims kind of compensates for that a little bit.
So with the competition base that you stated, Nick, about if it could get too competitive, I think the lightheartedness aspect that it has right now, with it being fun and games, kind of being elementary, new, and also very blessed with the group of females that we have, that I think it could be, but I don't, like T said, like Amaka, like we all said, Z, once it kind of develops more that competition base, that you may not catch a flying elbow when there's 30 all of us in the paint, but When should we spread out more, actually run the plays, do those things? I think there is a better place of not as much competition to where it could be too much. I think it ramps up just the right amount of competition with how excited just, like T's son was getting. I told my son about the height of the rim, and he's almost my height, and he was excited just to come and try to watch, just so he could try to dunk it. So I think, that fan aspect as well, the depth of the competition for females to play, and that the what's the word I'm looking for? Opportunities that we have with this game to show all the talents that we have, not just being able to shoot the 3-ball, but we're able to make plays, and we can dunk it just like anybody else. It's just as entertaining. So I think that's just a big aspect. I just wanted to make sure that I think that the competition is phenomenal. I truly do. I think it's a new style of play for females, and I think that just opens up so many opportunities. Like Amaka said, there's not many for us to play, and so a new type of play is also very exciting, and it just brings that just a whole new group. So also, thank you.
Oh, that's huge. Thank you. Of course. One other point too is to me, what I don't want to be lost on people is I'm not trying to promote everybody dunking by any means. And it's just like in the NBA, people forget in the early 2000s, everybody said there's too much dunking in the NBA. Now there's too much 3-point shooting. It's too, the game looks different. So we don't want too much dunking. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is this game to me gives the women's game an opportunity to have a flush of energy, like a release. You see what I'm saying? It gives an opportunity of an exclamation point. And it's not just the dunking, it's blocking somebody off the backboard. It's being able to play at that height. You get some creativity in your game because you can do different things. And like I said, that joy that you can see is palpable. And, and the idea of the dunks that were there, that was not even the highlight for the day. And so the scale to me was right for the group that we had at that time the other day. And so that's what I'm saying. It's all green lights. Z, did you have a point there? I didn't want to jump in your way.
No. Everything was said was straight on what I was just thinking with just the competition and like the fan base. I think once we get used to just everything that's going on with this game specifically, getting used to the height, getting used to shooting, I think the fan base with us more likely making more shots to mid-range 3 points and dunks and all together, that it'll be a more competitive advantage for all the teams, especially if we can get more access to these types of rims with smaller diameters to practice on. So yeah, I think it'll be great games and tournaments for this type of basketball.
I think what Z said is a good point, because we do need to get used to shooting on those goals, because normally when you do a science experiment, right, like you have one variable and then everything else is a constant. In this experiment, not to like downplay anything, but in this experiment of a new type of play, we have two variables. We've changed the height and we've changed the diameter of the rim. So I personally, the diameter of the rim affected me more than the height. Like with my shooting. But well, then let me like play devil's advocate for myself. But no, actually the height of the rim played more, because I could actually get in there and get above the rim a little bit.
That was
so I don't know, like
variables and two things. But what was interesting to me, and like your point is, those are affecting you, but you were wanting to hunt getting to the rim. So your drive was forcing you there. So like you could have practiced shooting more, but you made it. It was obvious that you made it a challenge for yourself to beat people up, get to the rim, and explode. So yeah. So you were working. That was the other variable. Like I think your game was being played it was magnified, I guess is what I'm trying to say, and that takes you away from aspects.
I think because we don't have that option as much to dunk. So when we saw that option, we're like, kid in a candy store, Willy Wonka. How many hoops can you please put up, Nick, so we can just rush this? Because the last time I dunked it like that was in a pool, you know. And to for you to actually put that out there, I really don't like. I know you don't want it to be about dunking, but how big dunking is to females, you could see on that first day. We don't get that opportunity very often. No, absolutely. And it was just huge that everybody of anybody, even, you know, T's kid, he was wanting to try to get up there. Everybody wanted to play, and just having that opportunity for anybody of that height, kids, you know, females, even, you know, junior athletes of any kind, have that opportunity just to make the game a little bit more exciting and to draw people in, to show them that they're not all about shooting. They're not just all about defense, you know, that they have these other aspects to the game, and you gave that opportunity. That's, you know, so that's why I think dunking we're also just solely focused on, because that's never been an option for us. You know, the options, we make those options in the pool. We make those options in our living room, you know, with the fake hoops and the Nerf hoop. That's where we dunk it, you know. So seeing it in real life, like, again, to me, kid in a candy store, that's the best way I can describe it. So I think that's why, you know, to go to T's point only.
Two points to that. One, yeah, I just wanted to dunk. But you know what? I got tired. Like a week after, I still felt my legs from jumping so much. Like I felt like I stretched my legs at one time when I just went in and jumped like from 2 feet, just like standing and dunked, and I legit felt my legs stretch, because I don't do that anymore. So yeah, it was the novelty of being able to dunk. But if there was another tournament, I would practice my shot. Like I would, you know, of course, dunk for fun and everything like that. But the majority of my time would have been spent before the next tournament shooting, because I hate not being able to say that I can shoot in those goals. And I don't think I'm a good shooter in those goals. And I never want to say I'm not a good shooter. So I would, if next time, I would definitely practice shooting more than practicing the fun part of dunking.
Let me kind of close that on the dunking piece. Obviously, 10-foot rims, typically men are the ones that are going to have access to be able to dunk. Very few women, and it's a tremendous accomplishment. We're not taking anything away from them, because it is incredible. I mean, that's incredible. To me, women on 10-foot dunking is like men on 12-foot or 13-foot dunking, realistically, okay? So very hard to do. That being said, very few people, even men, actually have a chance to really dunk. And there's a stigma about lower end rims in general. And yes, people play on lower rims. Yuck that you all played against the other day on one of the other teams. She said her and her friends, her brothers, would always play on lower rims growing up, and they love it. That's why, to your point, kid in the candy store, she loves this whole thing, because it's right back to that, you know. And you can see her athleticism, like she has trained doing that in years past. The way she has like the penultimate step and the way she powers up, you know, it's pretty incredible. But what I'm trying to say is very few people actually have a chance to dunk at 10 or even at lower rims. But I guess very few people really have even tried dunking even at lower rims. So like the feeling of exhilaration that you get grabbing the rim or getting into dunking really can't be explained. And then actually dunking in game on somebody, regardless of height, it's just that feeling is a feeling that I can't explain. I guess to speak to that, do you all have any insight on that actual feeling or emotion in a general sense, just in terms of being able to do that? I know we're saying it's incredible, but like, what does it feel like in the moment?
Oh my God. Oh my God. Like, one, I had to get a dunk in the game. I had to. And yeah, no, that was the highlight of I know I had some other, you know, nice plays and everything like that, but that was my highlight. Like going in there and driving to the left and then just getting that 2-hand slam in, like, yeah. It was, I'm still yeah, that was a lot of fun. I mean, it was a lot easier for Amaka, but Amaka, how did you feel about your dunking?
I will say the concept of dunking in general just kind of makes you feel a bit powerful. For me, it was very much exciting, but I feel like maybe not as much for me as compared to other people. Like even when I got my first dunk, everybody went crazy and I was like, why? I was like, why
But
at
that's
first?
also your personality, though, Amaka. Like, you don't
Yeah,
get
it
excited
is.
about much.
That's true. I'm very kind of a stoic person, but yeah, I feel like, you know, I don't really have to jump, to be honest, to dunk on an 8-foot rim. If it's a little bit higher, then maybe, you know, it feel a bit different. But it felt kind of cool because I had never done it before, even attempted to in the past. So it was pretty cool.
Can you all see my screen here?
Yes.
That was the first one. That was on CJ's head. CJ, the honorary first day women's player. CJ was there that a couple days before when we set the rim up to try him out at Minker. And he had a great showing, and yeah, he was the first one to get dunked on, actually.
Yeah, that's my girl. Let's go.
Yeah.
I'm personally upset that she didn't catch any of the alleys I threw her. Like, she just wasn't ready for them.
I was just gonna say that as well. That would be another adjustment because that's like a whole different aspect of the game that we've never applied before.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like obviously we do an assist like Atiya just did in that clip, but like in my head, I'm not thinking to catch the alley and dunk. You know, it's not part of my program, like in my mind, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But it would be something that I would look out for more next time.
I threw you some good lobs, Amaka.
Yeah, you did. You did.
So just to play like this is something that's interesting to me because I'm just trying to envision, you know, how this play would go at 10 foot. So nothing complicated. I mean, pretty straightforward, basic drive, featured defender. You beat Yuck off the dribble, get into the rim. But I guess my question is at a you know, you're going to be challenged on
Strong drive.
Scoring, very strong drive, but loading up. How do you approach this at this scale versus like 10 foot? I just don't know. I'm just looking to see, does this affect your state?
Man, that was like the worst miss of my life, it felt like. But no, this because I think it just like rolled out a little bit, and because I go up pretty, because I'm small, so I have to like that loading foot has to really like drive all the way through, so I have to get up pretty close to like make layups on people. Now I had to like really, when I got up there, I tried my best to like not force my weight onto it so it wouldn't like bounce off the backboard like that, because I just knew that's just what was going to happen. And so you really have to have like a real soft touch for that to just lay it up normally in the back for these rims and everything. Because with a 10-foot rim, like I could go up as strong as I can because there's a lot of distance that I have to make up for. But with this, like I don't have a lot of distance with it. So it's just right there. So I'm trying to go up a little softer with it and still have that quick drive and speed with it, but it's hard to like adjust.
So one of the things I'm picking up on is you've got to have control, you got to have precision, but realistically and frankly, and this could be a hot button point that I'm going to raise. But to me, like I said, realistically, I trained my sister, I trained youth, boys and girls. And to me, frankly, women at 10 foot is like men at 12 or 13 foot. That's just the reality. If we know men's is like the standard for entertainment value, and that's what works, that's what brings in revenue, that's what people get paid, that's what people are there to see, right? I just don't anticipate that women at 10 foot being forced, that's the only option, you know, it just doesn't make sense to me to where we couldn't lower the rim. But it's like, to me, when I see the women's game and I envision me playing on 12 or 13 foot, I'm going to really have to work to get that ball up there. And to me, the women's game, and actually just in talking to Atiya actually and Yuck, they said a couple things like throwing the ball to the rafters to get it up there, especially for playing against taller players or like against guys. I kind of got to get it up there somehow. And that's we could play back the audio, but basically I was kind of surprised to hear that, because frankly, that's what I see myself in a lot of instances. And it's like, why are we forcing players to have to power the ball up? You see what I'm saying? I think this game scales it to where it's not about trying to force things. It's about control. And now you can really showcase athleticism, skill, precision. And that's kind of where I'm at. If I just throw that out there, is that a button that pushes anybody to say anything, to jump off that point?
I think you don't know what you don't know, right? So we've never played on a lower rim. We've never played on a smaller diameter. So the 10-foot rim is all we know. So it seems normal to me shooting on a 10-foot rim. Shooting on a lower rim is what doesn't seem normal to me. Shooting on a smaller diameter is what doesn't seem normal to me. But 20 years from now, when this is like the best thing since sliced bread and everyone's playing it, we may be talking to someone who only plays on this rim and this height, and they will say that it's like shooting up to the rafters. So I don't necessarily think I look at shooting in a 10-foot goal as anything hard, because that's just what I've been doing. I really like to point out that the play with Z driving to the left and getting in there. We were talking about the congestion in the lane, but you saw right there that play, it was no congestion in the lane. Like Z had free reign to get in there because Amaka and I were both out. So
yeah,
I think that's the coaching and thinking about it once you start playing this type of game more, is getting that spacing, because she had the free lane and she got to step on her and she was able to get in there. And if Z was 2 inches taller, that probably would have been the craziest play of the game, because she would have just dunked all on her. So I do think that was a good point to show. I think you can have spacing, and it doesn't have to be super congested once you start really learning how to play it.
So here, one of the things that really stood out to me defensively, I think Z to me stood out the most out of everybody perimeter. A lot of great plays. So got a little bit more congested too. Turnaround. All right. Yeah, a couple of ideas. This one here, I had a real good hop step, just like being able to see the explosion. I missed part of this clip here. It was the loading into the powering up, but just really impressive. A lot of those areas. Tia, just straight bully ball. Just at one point, I mean, Bree's a great player. Bree, to me, probably Bree and Kendall were the two best, perimeter shooters.
Yeah.
They figured it out. Frankly, Bree was in for a tough guard. At this point here, I think, I don't know if you were telling her it was okay or you were, I don't know what was happening here. I don't know what the pat in the back was about, but we started to see a good amount.
Hey, too small.
Oh man. But yeah, we got a lot of good clips that are going to go up, that I don't want to wear you all down with too many clips here today, this second, but a lot of really great plays being made here, running people over, and then you wanted more after the foul to finish.
Oh wait, was that my dunk?
No, you had a couple of them. You had a couple.
Oh, okay.
Just powering through everything. There was a foul called, and then you wouldn't even let the foul stop you. You keep going. Here's some instances of coaching Amaka. I'll get the audio. I don't know if you could hear the audio. Or... Actually, everybody. That was, I think, Landon from the crowd. I can't remember who that was saying. Yeah.
Yeah, she should have dunked that.
You look at like some of the block. Again, this is on a male. We had CJ playing, the only male playing on.
Oh yeah, not in my house.
It's just interesting to me, you know, at scale. Like I just wonder, how does this play work if this is on 10 foot? It's hard to tell, but does this feel any different?
Oh, Amaka's still blocking that. But go ahead,
Yeah,
Amaka.
I was gonna say I'm still jumping for it and blocking it.
Is it any more rewarding, you know, being as it's at the rim versus not? I mean, I don't know.
Well, I feel like for this play specifically, I'm not really facing the rim, so you know, my jumping and things like that didn't really change. Maybe if I had hit it against the backboard, it would have definitely been different, or it would have felt different. But yeah, for this example, I'm kind of just moving as normal.
Yeah, I
It
got
does
you.
feel a little bit like what is it called? Gatekeep, or what is it called? Gatekeeping?
Matumbo, not in my house.
Yeah, like I did feel really, really close to the basket, so it doesn't even feel like, or I'm not even sure if it's allowed, you know, to block it that close to the rim, but yeah.
So I'll give you another one on the flip side. You all can see this, okay? So here's a play. Tia beats Jay to the rim. Look, should be an
That was
easy.
my alley. That was the alley.
That's gonna be a tough. Yeah, that's gonna be a tough catch. Now, so like you mentioned Amaka at one point, you said I just can't. It's like timing wise, I can't figure it out because you're not used to. That's unusual to be thrown alleys like that. So I wouldn't have expected this to have been an alley. No, maybe in time it'll get there. But see, this was a play that it's slow motion doesn't do it justice. But we're all standing here under the goal, and this looks like for sure an easy lay. Jay covers a lot of ground. She gets from
Jay did smack your jump, Amaka.
Not too much. She did recover really quickly.
Yeah. So she's actually a lot longer than I had even considered. But there she's checking Atiya.
Yeah, my mistake was trying to lay it up instead of just putting it in, because there's no room for me to throw the ball up, you know,
Yeah,
like it's right there where her hand is.
I'm telling her that was the alley.
Mm-hmm. To the rim, gets fouled. So here's another view just for a little bit more context. Oh, that wasn't it. That was a lay. That was, to me, as that happened in real time, I was like, that might be the play of the game. Not you know, without any context, but it was like that significant. But I thought that was tough. Deceptively tough because of the touch as well on the back end.
I don't even remember that play, but yeah, no, that was that was going between three defenders. If I would have missed it, it would have been selfish.
So there's a couple. Post work and reseals. This is just an example of just like traditional basketball, like what traditional NBA fans miss seeing. So that's just an entry to the post right there. So. Big
Amaka,
word.
way to finish on that one.
Here's one. Went to the rack, but faded. I'm just curious to know how you would handle this play. Good move, long stride to the rim. In terms of getting body, I guess if you could, do you train differently to be able to play at this rim with this rip through in terms of being able to go straight up toward the rim here? Because like naturally at 10 foot, I think in the women's game in particular, I believe a lot of women are typically going to want to, fade to be able to create some space because there's no real advantage. It's obvious to go toward the rim because the rim is always so much higher anyway. So I think a lot of it is you're trying to create space, but it's like here, am I wrong in that? In my perception, would you attack this differently to put her into the rim instead of extending? Nothing wrong with it, but I'm just curious to see what your interpretation is now after having played a day for the tournament.
Yeah, what you said would make more sense just because this kind of rim does require a really soft touch. And when you're attacking with that kind of momentum, I think the closer I am to the rim, the easier it would be to kind of just center the ball and just put it in lightly instead of, as you see, I threw it up pretty high. So yeah, I think going up straight would make more sense.
Okay. Here's one. Here's a block. So just so
So it's
we're
a
all
lot of blocks.
so Leah played at Air Force Division 1. Her last season was that COVID year. It got shortened. It's a shame. And then she continued on. But yeah, I guess just playing around the rim. Do you typically play more post, Amaka, in traditional ball, right? Aaliyah is more like in college. She didn't play big. She was a guard. But I guess my question to you, Amaka, is how do you prepare for this shot block differently at this rim height versus at 10, or is it all the same?
It's kind of the same, but also depends on how the offense is shooting it. Like if they're going in with a really light touch, then it's a little bit less room for me to get in there and block it. But otherwise, I feel like it's pretty much the same. It's just more about timing.
Okay. And right now, timing piece, we don't really know because we're not used to seeing that many reps. So kind of figuring that as we go. So here's some 5-on-5 work. Probably try to play the audio. The audio is pretty good here. So there we figured it out by 5-on-5 team. And it became pretty reasonable to be able to pursue. This is a powerful move. I mean, good pound dribble. In some traffic. Nothing really complicated, but I mean, you got to mean it. So by that point, you're feeling pretty comfortable. But that move probably wouldn't have happened, I guess, in the first game. I guess is general idea.
And just to let you, I'm going off of camera because Lynn is done with basketball, so I'm gonna be driving, but I'm listening to everything.
Okay, you're good. You're good. That's like Stockton and Malone out there.
Yeah, by the third game, I didn't even bother trying to do any traditional layups.
Yeah, you just figured it out. pretty comfortable. A couple other points here. What do you envision is different, just in a general sense? Just throw it out at me. When you've got a player going full court at a lower rim height, how does that affect what you would do? And you all weren't always in those positions, but in terms of pursuing somebody getting loose, full court run out like this, like Yuck is, how do you envision this affects how you'd play that? Are you going to try to go for the block at the rim? You going to try to go for the steal? Is there anything different in terms of how you pursue it than in traditional 10?
I feel like I noticed during this 5-on-5 when there were fast breaks, for the most part, it seemed like people kind of just backed off and let them score. I think because if someone did try to go for a block or try to defend it, it could get pretty physical because there's not as much room to really defend them. So I did notice that a lot of people kind of just backed off and let them either dunk it or score or whatever the case was.
Yeah, I would say that I think because it was a first time doing it, yeah, I would agree with Amaka. Like when it came to the 5-on-5, we'd already played the tournament and it was kind of like this is the last 5-on-5 and everything like that. So I don't necessarily think that we were playing as competitive as we would normally play. So I would agree that kind of letting people get the shots and stuff, but if we were to do it again and it was, I don't want to say money on the table, but it was for an actual game, it would have definitely been more competitive. And yeah, I would have been following do a LeBron off smack their stuff.
Yeah. I got a lot more footage that we'll end up putting up, but I want to cut everybody loose to not wear you out too much today. But any points that anybody has that they want to bring to the table?
So I think I just want to say that I'm excited about doing it again. Like I was joking about the jump soles, but I'm not joking about training jumping off of 1 foot and training being able to get even more above the rim. Like I may be 40, but I actually pride myself on being able to jump. I joke with Amaka all the time, and I tell her that I actually have a better vertical than Amaka. She's just taller than me, and I think it's been proven that I have a higher vertical than Amaka. She's just taller than me. So I want to take advantage of that on an 8-foot goal. I would love to, as Z said, I would love to have access to the smaller diameter, to be able to get better at shooting, because it excites me. Like training, you're training different, and it's very exciting.
Well, that's good because it's going to happen again. We'll pull them more together, no doubt. So, who else? Do you guys have some more players in mind that you think would do well with alt basketball specifically, or do you think there's some players that would shine better with alt basketball than in traditional basketball? That's the other question, because I don't think everybody would. There's some players that may be better at 10 foot. There's some players that may be better at smaller rim, lower rim. Does that strike a chord with anyone?
I think most players should, if they're able to adjust, I feel like they should do well, honestly, regardless of height, type of play. It's just really getting that just like, obviously there are some struggles with me as a shorter person or as Amaka as like a taller person, and we all have different styles of play. And so it's just adjusting and trying to figure out your style of play, trying to figure out how to score. this new thing. So I don't think it's something that's somebody just can't play. If they can't play it, it's because they're just choosing not to play or not to get better with it. And so, yeah. Awesome.
Gates?
A couple things. I really liked what Atiya was getting at with the coaching aspect. I think, as we start establishing teams with coaches, we're going to start seeing some different coaching styles and tactics that haven't been used before. And then I also really liked Rachel's comment about how this is art and music, and they, those two genres of life, if you will, are ever evolving and ever changing. And this is our time to evolve basketball. And you guys helped us paint that picture. Thank you for being part of it.
I think we'll call it a day, and we'll work to get some of the footage up.
I will say that I've had quite a few people ask me about it. I only was able to post, clips that I received, but I haven't had any of the real footage yet to be able to post. But I have had a lot of the girls in our league ask me about it. There was some talk about some people being like, "Well, I wasn't asked to play in it and stuff," is as to the reason why they didn't play. But it's piqued a lot of people's interest, especially if and I learn about it, and I watch the YouTubes and stuff to understand the history behind why you decided to do this, and I'm in agreement with probably 95% of everything that you said. And I watched, it was one that was like 30 minutes or something like that, and I watched the whole thing and listened to it, and listen to the argument about how you want to do this from the bottom up instead of the top down. Like you don't need WNBA players to buy into this, because once you get that bottom base, other people will come. Like once you get the fan base, and the fan base is the average person, it's about the excitement of it. So I think that word of mouth is a big tool, and everybody that I've told about it and actually talked to them about it and talked to about the changes that are positive, in my opinion, they've been like, "Oh, I wish I would have came." So I do think that is there. I think that here in Vegas, we're lucky enough to have a strong women's basketball base, and in the Heroes League. So we have it here. We just got to continue to get the word of mouth out. And I think people will come, because a lot of people probably will find this fun and they just don't know it, because it is that novelty. Like, oh, it just sounds like a gimmick. Like you're just lowering the rims and stuff. But women are competitive. So once we get them out there, they will want to play, and they will realize that it's a new chapter in basketball, period.
So how do we market it, I guess, is the question. That could be a whole long conversation. I don't want to slow us down too much tonight. But in a general sense, if you could sum it up, how would you promote this game as we look to market into increasingly into Vegas, but also into these other areas: San Diego, Los Angeles, Atlanta, Georgia, Denver, Colorado, Dallas, Texas. Those are the ones specifically that we're about to enter into. So I guess if you could leave me with a couple of points that you think are important, that would be relevant to let hoopers know to come play, just to sum it up.
For me, anyways, my point of view, it's a new type of competition. And in basketball, personally. And for that, that's like a challenge, and I'm going to conquer that challenge when it comes to basketball and playing. So putting that out there, it's a different type of competition, different type of challenge for basketball players. I also think will kind of spark their interest because, you know, a lot of us, like T said, are very competitive, and even just putting the eye out there or seeing some of the other females do that will also kind of push others to be like, oh, I can play that. But just for me to hear that it was a different type of, you know, competition, a different type of basketball just sparked my interest, you know, immediately. So just putting more of that out there, I think would also help like-minded individuals to want to come and check out how great this could be.
Thank you. Time.
Z and Amaka, do you have anything? Because y'all know I can talk, so I'm letting y'all go first.
Not much to say. I do feel like now that it's been done once, that is gonna already bring a lot of attraction to it in general. Like Atiya was saying, now people have seen that we've done it, and they're gonna reach out and try to get involved. And also, we already, for the most part, are in spaces where we're playing women's basketball with other people. So it's just a matter of word of mouth, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Amaka. Like my first thing was just kind of like word of mouth, hearing just like our personal experience with it and just how it goes. That's how you're gonna get like really committed and dedicated people to actually like come and play when they want to sit there and talk to you about it and hear about it.
It's time. We just got to get it out there. Okay.
And I think that I would add that we just have to get it out there and normalize it. And what I mean by normalize is so many different other sports have already normalized it being a difference in the women and the men competing. You know, I'm a big CrossFitter, and from day one when CrossFit started, it normalized that women use a 35-pound bar, men use a 45-pound bar. When men did 95 pounds, women did 65 pounds, and it's never been questioned. Whereas Nick, I think in one of your YouTubes, you were talking about how, I think you said in the 70s or maybe it was the 80s, when they changed the ball size and they made the ball size smaller for women to kind of just give them something that was something. And I agree, women should play with a smaller ball, but now we also need to normalize that women should play on a lower rim. I think the statistic of you pointing out that, you know, 99% of men can dunk, and why can't we have more women dunking? I think that excitement is something to highlight. So just normalizing it, and I think that the way you normalize it is by getting people to actually come out, play it themselves, see it being played, because it, like I said, it is competitive. It's not just a gimmick, and we just have to. Oh, shit, sorry, I didn't mean to curse, but that could be a headline. It's not just a gimmick. Like it's legit, you know.
I think so too. I think we're onto something. So we're gonna keep pushing. This is good. Thank you, ladies.
All right, give me my highlight reels. Come on, Nick. Hurry up.
We got the footage. I figured out how.
Landon's in the car too, and he said he wants his too. Even though I know it's more about the women, but he had a couple of good plays on them 5-on-5. So send it, DM me his.
we got Landon's right here. Landon's is queued up. He's gonna be able to see it. He's gonna be on the World Wide Web here very soon. It's playing on screen.
Okay.
Plays. Here he goes.
Can you see it?
Bucket, smooth bucket. But I'll tell you what, everybody was hyped. Wait till you hear the audio on it.
Yes, sir.
But here's the thing: we're gonna keep rolling the tape, Landon.
Doha gets loose. Look at this. Landon, he loses focus here. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Give one up on the other side. So yeah, we got a little work to do. Defensive awareness. That's the one thing. So we'll cut the clip short. We'll just show his bucket. But we'll have him come out to the next one too. Ladies, this has been great. Landon, good to have you on. And we'll keep pushing. So stay tuned. We'll drop these clips, and everybody gonna be an overnight celebrity here.
Thank you for the opportunity. It was really cool to be a part of this, especially for the first tournament like this, and for the footage that we'll be getting soon. We appreciate it.
Yeah, it's really, really fun. We really, truly appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah,
I mean,
thank you so much. Appreciate it.
you're welcome, Z. Appreciate you. No, I'm just here. I'm just in the way. So you can't tell me how much. I can't tell you how much it means to me to have you all come out and play and get it rolling. So just the beginning. Thank you, Katie. You got anything before we jump off?
Oh, thank you, ladies. Appreciate you taking your time to talk
Yep.
with us today.